geshe lhata samar textにチャートにしたから。
So I'd like to say Tashtere to Geshe Lharampa, all of you. I'm very happy to be there today.
人間類はgeshe類の人に言うけど、じゃあ、見ていくわや。
So we'll start with reciting the Heart Sutra, and after that we'll have a short mantra offering, and then start into the teaching right away. So here you can recite it.
So please turn to page 6 and then we'll hear one more Homage to the exalted three jewels, vast and great one God, blessed one who is running right to the they have the grace of the amongst the years and the classes, and that time the blessed one was absorbed in concentration, concepts, phenomenal, and illumination. At that very time, the spirit of which we thought was a side of the great being, was looking for the practice of profound professional wisdom, for her ability to gain the experience of the higher also. And through the power of the venerable show, who was set to the spirit of which we thought was a side of the great being, how should a child of the Lineage wish to engage in the practice of profound professional wisdom? Thus he spoke in the spirit of which the child was a side of the great being, replied to the venerable show, which as follows. That which your son or daughter Lineage wishes to engage in the practice of profound professional wisdom should look perfectly like this. Subsequently looking perfectly and correctly at the emptiness of the inherent existence of the five ideas also. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form, form is not other than emptiness. In the same way, the evidence of creation compositional factors and consciousness are empty. Shadowpeople like this all phenomena are empty without characteristics. That is, they are not produced and do not cease. They have no definement nor separation from the divine. They have no increase and no decrease. Therefore, shadowpeople there is no form, no feeling, no speculation, no compositional factors, no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, body, no mind. No visible form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no object of touch, no mental phenomenon. There is no eye element, no so forth, no mind element, no other element, and no consciousness. There is no ignorance, no sensation, no so forth, no awakening and death, no satiation and death. Likewise, there is no suffering, no origin, no cessation, no path, no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Therefore, Sharapuja, because there is no attainment, what disciples rely on and abide in the perfection of wisdom. Because their minds have no obstructions, they have no fear. Passing out of fear
다리 이제야 아니 생각하고 괜찮아서 이게 이제 아니 가서래 괜찮아도 하장비고 전에 참고체 그것이 이래요. 근데 재산 아니 대선다 하장 쓴게 싫어 가고 아니 이제 대선이 다간에 그다 마学院里做 아니 제가 동거 치는 데에做的 네, 그래서 내리 시경 막 lam-rim 미국으로 시작만 뒤뒤 시작해 봐. 어떻게 막 해도 죄송합니다. 뒤뒤 시작해.
So this is my first time visiting the Kurukulla Center, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm also very happy to see you all have a great enthusiasm in studying and practicing Dharma. And so I'm very happy to see all of these things. And what I'm going to explain today, or what I was requested to explain here, is foundation of order quality, which is very concise or short, condensed form of lam-rim for gradual path enlightenment.
다시 다 가수를 말하지 아니 아메리카 산디 이야기 배차를 이야기 참고서 공정과 관계하고 다들 용사하게 제거도 진실해봐. 또 진실해 지금 강대团에 아니 라와 어떻게 시작을 해? 내가 어떻게 하는 거 그래서 나다 생리 이야기 참고서 개인 안에 이게 라와 배다 현재 내가 근데 이거 세트를 해야 제가 나중에 아니
and the country that we live in, the United States, is a very developed country in terms of materials, the wealth and the external material things. They are fully developed and have enhanced great in a scientific way, and has a great independence to do what you want to do and so forth. So it's a very praiseworthy place.
你长嘛，挺对的多种吧。我的看着团的这个世界项目、统计项目，我那些比差对不对？
And also the people are very educated, interested in the education, and looking good and looking very well from every aspect.
네, 어디서? 아니, 나한테 가서 그래. 어떤 이야기, 화장 소진 좀 봐. 이야기 너도 무슨 무슨 되게 이는 양. 아니, 친구고 이야기 좀 봐다 해지도 아니 마음이 상을 방방 하네. 이게 가서 그래. 생각이 준다. 답이 세트지. 지난 만천한 거래. 이와인데. 뭐 들리지 마 송이나. 친구고 찍고 이야기 좀 봐. 땅에 아니야, 미디기 탐지 미국에 있고요.
And so, although externally, the country is very well developed, but the internal happiness which you can find through practicing Dharma, if you don't have that, just by having the external things, is not just not good enough to find the real happiness.
근데 가서 그래. 저번에는 야 산재 좀 된데 선진团야 팬이 뒤에看到 내가 나서 보네. 아니 뒤에 동네에 개별 체도가 아니 비게 가서다 뒤에 왕기 팀민 취다 티신 취 어디 뒤지나 딱 가다 뒤에 제 망고 송이요 그래. 이거를 제가 하다는 나서 별이야 여기디 안 티고 친구 취 딱 가다 너다마 용수 소바치 디데리.
So Buddha Shakyamuni came in this world, and in order to help disciples or the beings to free from the sufferings, has taught many different teachings. The teachings such as the Hinayana teachings, and the lower Vedic teachings, and the Mahayana teachings, and so forth. And the teaching that was spread in Tibet, is the Mahayana teaching, both the Sutra and Tantra, the Mahayana teaching.
Maya. Order the Hasore. People to be treated. Any Maranzo, Mizi, Tabata to Middleman, they won't carry. Savane. Any Shimwin naturally young Maranzo, to me or to me, do your money. Or Taranashi to me, you never came ever to your money. To the king and to your day. Around the what do we David and tag it about some master. Tabat take it about the one you never do your la. What do you put up? 진짜 마법가 진짜 디데스만 송이래. 대한 대거 양다판 제가 전에 못 추기가 진짜 이랬습니다.
And so, so all these methods to achieve happiness and to eliminate the suffering are taught in the teachings here. So we don't want to experience any sufferings, but we experience sufferings without any control. And all these sufferings that we experience doesn't come by itself. It has cause and condition to produce these sufferings. And same with the happinesses. So we want to have happiness, and there are also cause and condition for the happinesses. We want to have not only happiness, but we want to have everlasting happiness, happiness that will never change, that will always remain as happiness. And so that method to achieve that happiness, that everlasting or unchanging happiness, is taught in the Buddha's teachings. And that is taught with the precise logical reasons with logical reasons and with the precise methods.
어쨌든 아니 말하고 민들을 동의사를 그래래 태그 동의 가래 포부 동의 가래 어디디 그 실 강한 요번은 신 이게在这前面 어디디这是这个加入前面有好的但是当然就你말하고 동의但是当동의是对比呢跨越동의来呀但是当동의能比对呢동의松懈的동의의 동의 그룹의 동의 차별주의 동의 체계 동의 숨쉬게 돼 동의 되게 在这当中我也是在这当中我特别有些我记得
So these unwanted sufferings, what are they? Where do they come from? What are the temporal sufferings? What are the long-lasting, long-term sufferings, and so forth? Are all explained in the teachings. And so, if we analyze about these sufferings, we can find out what these sufferings are, and so forth. So, all these sufferings in the cycle existed, all sorts of sufferings that we have. If we combine them, they can all be combined into three types of sufferings, known as the suffering of pain, suffering of suffering, suffering of change, and all pervasive sufferings.
What is it? 세상 딱 동네디게 유관의 연구도 게 가르래도 어다 동네규 모두 chen 네 동네규를 동네규를 가르치는 알아서 제가 치료 투여 말로 나한테 상로 땅야 상로 노주지 가는 연구요. 세상 상로 노주지 대배 때문에 안에 태그 동네 안에 걸어와 참여하다가 난 동네 상미자부 동네 지진이도 제 영향도 들을 수 있고요. 동네 대야 아니 양디게 상로 땅저 타네 그 되게 가사 동네 그在册的 보네 어디崩的비 탐험 아니 호인내서 되게 지고 양다 타네 어떤 발표的 전에 동네 자원의 방 되게 다 방야 열려라 태도이네 아니 가소래 아니 되게 가사다 스물 유버치네 엔스 되게 상로 방야 고양고 현다면다 되게 다 상로 방야 고양고 다와 딘주 타네 동지 양다 타네 고양고 아니 태도 선기와 포기 전에 땡게 되고 줄야 지다 또도 미세 어떤 되겠어요 상계 근데 송쉬어야 돼.
And so the sufferings has cause and conditions. So you have to identify what are the causes and what are the suffering, what are the causes and what are the conditions that give rise to these sufferings. So sufferings do not come from outside. They all depend on inside mind. So because of mistaken mind and because of thinking in a mistaken way, then we experience all these sufferings. So all these sufferings that we don't want, the temporal and the long-lasting sufferings that we don't want to experience, they all come from the mistaken mind, mistaken conceptions. And so how do we overcome these sufferings and so forth are all explained clearly with the logical reason in the teachings of the Buddha. So as we don't have much time, only about 4 days, just 4 evenings, right? And so although this text, Foundation of All Good Quality, is short, but again, if you expand it, it can be expanded to quite long explanations. So anyway, I will explain most crucial, important parts, those which mostly falls in the Mahayana part of the teachings.
lam-rim chamon le thongpo le me ne tanda ne se khanje speaking ngane chen tar tenge de na ne ani thamje chen sanje ko wa sa de khanje ko ba le ba che tik sha de lam-rim se de ka lam-rim di su du chen ne ta de ha sang du chi du ta 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 du de yo ma ni se ha sang du chen ne ta de ye shi ju ma sa de ye shi ma ta kan de le ge ba chen ma chi de na di yo la ko ne ta 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 di ha sang du ta ta di ko ne ma mi nam Uh,
so actually the foundation of all good qualities is the graduate path to enlightenment teaching, the teaching on the graduate path to enlightenment. The graduate path to enlightenment, or stage of the path to enlightenment, is a method or the teaching that explains how one can achieve from the beginner stage up to the step of enlightenment, how one can achieve all these paths, stage by stage, and so how to achieve the everlasting happiness, not only the everlasting happiness of nirvana, but also how to achieve all the way up to how to achieve state of Buddhahood. And so that is called lam-rim, or the graduate path to enlightenment. And so this foundation of all good quality is kind of a concise and a condensed version of that. Of course, you can't condense the meaning, but it's just condense the words of that graduate path to enlightenment. And so this foundation of all good quality, which explains exactly the same terms of the focal objects for the meditations of the lam-rim, and it's a little bit easier to understand as well.
Yundi shi ju ma si zengen de ta la me ba yundi shi ju ma zengen de je la ma zong ba qin bo ji ji zun zhan de yang mo ni na ba chen ne na ba de ani de yang ani ka so de sang ye zhen de ni ge ji zun zhan de yang de ya kyun yi ani ka sa chi be so ye ne sang ye de ba che ba de ji gun je da ba ka ba de ne ge ba ni ji zun zhan de yang ma ba de che ran de ni 이게 지당 이 남바 chen ne 제가 상계 제가 보다 용된 반은 진짜 제가 뭐 정보가 친구 아니 가서래 그 안에 좀 팬네 엔비게 가서래 보다 상계는 신규게 제가 제니 다가 또 그게 제지 참고 시작해.
So both the lam-rim, or the great explosion of the state of path of enlightenment, and this foundation of all good qualities, both are composed by Lama Tsongkhapa, and Lama Tsongkhapa, is the emanation of Manjushri. So it's the Manjushri coming in the human form, and so during the Buddha's time, Buddha also prophesied, Manjushri saying that in the future, you will come in a form of human being and will perform the deeds of the Buddha in the land of snow and so forth. So just as the Buddha prophesied, the Lama Tsongkhapa, Meiji was born, emanated as Lama Tsongkhapa, and then he performed all these deeds of the Buddha by teaching the Dharma to the sentient beings and so forth. So by doing this, he has left a great imprint of the teaching of the Buddha.
问题些，他的在实地、实际的，你这让我中国其实强了热情，建立一面是，好的，大量的电视来零啥就强了呀。第养护他是个学他的学过嘛，我的养护一个看得到，方法协调的，我对了呀，人在哪个嘞？
And so this the place where he composed this text is called Chang Reading. Reading is the name of the place, and this is in the north.
我的些，他既然我们中国的钱包了呀，那你其他给人讲这样，好像是没得你看的呢，啊，能给好像是没得你看的呢，这个是这个要的，给人讲这样的干嘛？ 这个其他不行，给中国要的那他认为他一当怕，安尼一当怕他忙过，他一当怕他是写什么之类的。但当安尼他们看的是呢，他的地、人地、人的，安尼这当怎么样？他我作为常见的嘛，这些原因呢，他你那个想看他的嘛原因，有个地界看我有三要的了，他们的安尼有个那么地界我是写什么？ 这让我中国情况，但也刚刚我说的写事呢，那对嘛？没说嘛，因为你有些人之类的，加上那就有个山里边的什么，全国的航土不一样的，我的那些那个对的，那个商业区的商业中间的都不一样，我的送一个，我的那就他那是的，他到跑多，你这是什么我的，有跑马消息。
And so Lama Tsongkhapa had direct contact with the Menjushu, just like human to human, person to person, and receive all the instructions, all the teachings directly from Menjushu, and also he had direct vision or direct contact with all the other deities, many other deities, and especially all these lineage gurus of the lam-rim. So actually lam-rim, although it became popular from Lama Tsongkhapa's time, but it was taught from Buddha's time. So the beginning of the teachings of the Buddha came from the Buddha, and so all this from Buddha it was passed down to the later teachers, and then from there to the next one and so forth. So all these lineage gurus, so Lama Tsongkhapa had direct contact with them, just like person to person, and receive teachings from them. So the teachings of the Buddha, it has to be it has to come in a stream, unbroken stream, from the Buddha's time all the way to the present teacher. So just like the river, the beginning of the river has to go all the way up to the snow mountain, and just like that, the teachings of the Buddha has to go back all the way to the Buddha.
我也是，我怎么修炼的？通过的，你看说的，新一点是的，你到八点，他的进了修炼的。
And so the first verse starts with the request to the Guru for with the request to generate realization of Guru devotion.
原来规矩是个挺简单，这些的嘛，咱们也找个来把他们来把他们有个区别的嘛，现在我是谁些。
And so the first verse is the foundation of all good qualities is the kind and appropriate pure Guru. Great devotion to him is the root of the path. By clearly seeing this and applying great effort, please bless me to rely upon him with great respect.
哎呀，他经常吃那个呀。 原来规矩习旧，啥的？原来规矩因为习旧，他原来规矩用功，原来规矩早晚的，几点来的，我打原来规矩早晚的，还是什么亲切结实，心眼他妈那么多的心眼结实。
So the first line is the foundation of all good qualities. So the foundation of all good qualities, or the root of all good qualities, the cause of all good qualities is whether it's the worldly good qualities or the trans-worldly good qualities. It all comes from, it all stems from the guru, from the prophet teacher.
신인이 근데지 모르겠으나 지금 장방국을 어디게나 송관한 시제 기반 특별침들 대회 승인 준대 송 승인 주
So now we talk about the qualities of the guru. So what kind of qualities do the gurus require to become qualified or perfect guru? So just as Maitreya mentioned in the Sutra Anugrah, that there are 10 qualities that is required for one to become a perfect guru.
어때요? 신이 들어가시고 내시고 연대하고 소재를 보듯이 이해로 맞아 세배단 경험을 방에 제가 한국의 신이 들어와 스틸상과 로송 야련안에 라고 수령 야련게 아니 류기 필요한 지신들 마가 필요한 지신들 할 용아이 용아가 공부를 받아면 보다 지신이 들어체 대체 얘네 신이 들어와 시와 스틸상과 러그 땡은 지금 야련 판에 아니 승기를 잡아 쉬워 조판 영웅 배가 가면 쉬워 어떻게 되시나요?
So in there it says the guru or spiritual teacher should be subdued, pacified, and closely pacified, and so forth. And so first one it says subdued. What it means is through the practice of morality, the person, the spiritual teacher should be very subdued through the practice of morality, and then pacified through the practice of the concentration, and he or she should be pacified.
알라고 싫으면 양면 통에 엔티게 가졌다. 다들 정말 예뻤음. 다 간다 하산 비게다 승기 영모만 쉬워. 러고 싫으면 양면 다 간다 러고 송도 양면 이어봤으니.
And then when it says closely pacified means through the practice of the wisdom, his or her mind should be closely pacified of all the delusion.
이 그것이 연대하고 사대다 계획성에 대해 로마의 연대 차 탐색 방을 하고 있어요. 그래 이제 지나잖아. 계획이 되면 마중에는 강라야 돼 로마의 연대 하고 있어요. 해봐요, 맞아. 제가 연대하고 있어요.
So and then one has to the spiritual teacher has to have more good qualities, more knowledge than the disciples. So in every aspect, the teacher should have more knowledge than the disciples. If the teacher don't have more knowledge, then he will not be able to help or teach the disciples.
롱구슈스한데 엔라만 개베싱인데 그게 모르스나 퇴상 보선 다또 가래서나 태방망고 이게 그다 가사파 원롱 내가 망고 비게 이겨 태방망고 자신도 가래서나 태방면은 지금 시에서 내가 안에 롱에 다 가서 되는 거라 제가 가장 비게 태방 자신도 다 간다 말아서 제가 그런 재미는 다 간다 그래서 말아서 중지는 들어가 보니 잡으러 간다
And then has to have great effort. Should make a great effort, enthusiasm, making a strong effort to achieve liberation and enlightenment. And then also has to be scripturally rich. And it's like you have to have an advanced amount of knowledge, of the scriptures. And in scriptures, so for that you have to study, contemplate, and so forth. So all this, the study of these scriptures, like the 5 great texts that the monks study in the great monasteries, all these, these are to achieve more knowledge on the scriptures and so forth. So if you don't have the scriptural knowledge, then you will not be able to quote the verses from the teachings and so forth. So you will not be able to teach them well.
我他准备的定义都不到嘛，定义都不到的时候，他喊他去那边那到过年的，从那边木松到，那么这个西院他3节1没有的，像就是那么，但是爬过腰的，他都是从我们到了木松。我听嘛因为俺那边可说的，说节腰的，那么修就是这张给送一张，从那东过年木松到，这边呢东过年到，去个那个，这边呢，俺去个那个什么起心。 그래서는 말아서 요새 가서 인중을 때는 좀 짠짠 인중 인상 라마 쪽을 들어가요. 라마 쪽에 내리서 라마 쪽에 逛. 뭐 뒤에 수도 정말 치신 되게欠的 인식하고요. 망가져요.
And then the seventh one is understanding about emptiness. And so, if possible, of course, you should have a direct realization of emptiness. If not, at least the understanding or the realization. If not the realization, then at least the realization of emptiness. And even if that is not possible, then at least have to have a good understanding about the emptiness. So how things are empty of existing from their one side, how things all exist by depending on each other and so forth. And so you have to be able to understand that very well at the very least. So that's the seventh quality, is understanding the reality of the emptiness.
이래도 마켓이었다. 제가도 이래도 마켓. 마켓을 해야 돼. 이니 로마리아, 다 로마 가서 유자 공부 뛰고 여는 거 남들이 여러 유자 참다가 참아지지. 공부 뛰고를 참. 링은 영 참. 아니 공부 비게 러러 참아지지. 간다 디레가 손도 다 중간에 여기 담고 주나. 실세 시험을 시고요. 실세 시험을 시여나. 아니 가르칠 때 뭐, 딱 지마신 튕겨요. 제 매위네 그래도 판에 되게 따다 되게 대해서 되게 가능 탄성
And then the eighth one is expert or skilled in the speech, being able to speak in the right way to subdue the disciples of different level, and so teaching in a way that is right for those who are dull faculty, and teaching in a way those who are the sharp faculty and so forth. So in a right way that will be most beneficial for the disciples. And so of course, if possible, then you should have the clairvoyance that understands the mind of other sentient being. If you know that, if you have that clairvoyance, then you know exactly what to teach them. But if you don't have that, at least you should be skilled in the speech so that you'll be able to teach in a right way to the different disciples of different levels of faculties.
네, 이해를 또 하게 이제 세배 단위, 다 그거 세배 단위, 아 세다들이 캐려고는 송구예요, 봐. 아 세배 단위 있어, 다 기본 제침벌이 돼요. 그래서 다좀 뭐말라, 아니 그게 요즘에 또 세배 패배 상대 또 나오네. 어떻게 된 것이 안 되고 그래요. 저 맨날 이거 지금 제 수개요, 봐. 그래서 다좀 세배고 이제는 아니 그게 그사 세다 개들만 봐. 그래서 다좀 세배고.
And then the ninth one is the compassion, having the nature of compassion. So that is very important. If you don't have compassion, if you don't have the care and concern for others, then you will not strive to teach. And also, of course, without the compassion, you will not have that the altruistic attitude, which leads you into the path, the Mahayana path. So having compassion is very, very important.
就个教研方式，他开始呢，我们哪里到了嘛？有些哪里，他们这有个吧，但是他可自己现在新就每年，说这个工具这个吧，我打那新，可是他可自也不现在虽然，对这个老年这个单点有个吧， 이내 델레야 쓰면 겨라다 강에 진짜 많습니다. 타주는 세배왕 어디 딜레 남기시고 경매하냐.
And the 10th one is like is called having abandoned the discouragement and feeling of difficulties. So that is very important as well, because there are some disciples that are very difficult to be taught, and so you have to make so much effort to teach them. So you should not be discouraged very easily, thinking that, oh, there's no way to teach this person, and so forth. And also, so you have to be able to go through so much of difficulties in order to teach and benefit others. And so have to be someone who has abandoned that feeling of difficulty and discouragement.
정말 어디지? 아, 계시 승인 주가 들으지 마상에 인거 들으지랑 하고 있는데 다 간다 제라면 동거 시대 네 송관의 신세제 인루 콩去的不是인루 콩去的往不推送的却能引入内陆咱们包括你给你最他妈现在台湾人看电都有嘛这当第什么机器然后到来里面什么机器还换我的第一机面就写的内陆这机器现在往不推了他本来什么有的马的就让讲不赢嘛推过往不推了去大看到你新年的通报上的这个他体会第二阶段呢可是这个了呀电的钱呢原这样的装的配合我他的电我不知
So these are the 10 qualities that a spiritual teacher should have. But at this time of the generation, it will be difficult to find a teacher with all these qualities. And so, just like Tsongkhapa said, even if there is nobody, no teacher with all these 10 qualities, at the very least, he or she should have these knowledges. So one should have, he or she should have the knowledge of the ultimate mode of existence. So, which is the reality, who have the knowledge of the reality, the way that things exist. If you don't have that knowledge, if you don't know that yourself, the teacher don't know that him or herself, then she or he will not be able to teach the right path to the disciples. And then the other one, is once in the senses should be very subdued, which means like you should be very subdued, physically, verbally, and mentally as well. And so that when people see you, just by seeing him or her, people will just automatically generate a sense of faith or devotion towards that person. And so by that, and then we will follow that person. So this is the least quality that a spiritual teacher should have.
哎呀，我的天！他这当呢，有我老是写出来贴住上送中老师，他现在当时这当没错不了是吧？去年没行，贴住上送中老师，特别错，你顶中的经营还不是不会。我老是今天在那开发啥那个机会吧，学校同学的开发项目嘛，还有是去个内陆，这个蒙古的这个买不说明。内陆引入当过你的线吧，你线别人开不下来，开我的地线不进去，开始，中国山的，流到哪个这个交通系统多，中国车，铁中上国山它做攀升去了，行了，这个现在可是攀升去了，长命起来我的对，他说的，上国我们呢，我的听得去。
So normally we say, one has to be the spiritual type teacher, and has to be someone who is learned, who is subdued, and who has a kind heart, who is kind-hearted, learned, kind-hearted. And so here, learned is someone who is learned. Is a little different from what we consider in the regular world, what we consider as someone who's learned. And so here, learned, you have to be learned in the understanding of reality. So how things are interdependent, and how things are empty, existing from their one side. And so you have to be learned in the understanding of that. And that's called learned. And then the subdued, so you have to be subdued physically, verbally, and so forth. And then the kind-hearted is you should have love, compassion, the wish to benefit others, altruistic attitude, and so forth. Without that, you will not strive to help others.
Well, what did you say? Lama gave singing today, Suna. What are they? And you do we see you. What a degree and degree like that, you then come to run for a kind of telling ways. No, this one, that did tempest, temperature, switching them was what. That did the Vina, Henry Carrier, London and Mahamusuna, Gava, Sangi, Gava, Sangi, Sugar Tilhayo, Gava to a chip, and do the Digo Misua. Never singing, never Yamato, do the Digo Misua. Geshe the children gave singing from my, and the singing I was standing. Cut you in a singing Yakucha Chair, watching. Education was there. Then it Salam in Yamdo Tamsek. Top of you again and began conduct. Began that the top of Honapon Piadi was singing to Sintana and Weir. He said, that gets issue, and you walk and you will go to take her resources, singing into the
And so, if you can find such kind of guru with all these these qualities, then you should devote to that guru, and by devoting to that guru, you will be able to find all the happinesses of these in the future lives, and you'll be able to find all the qualities, all the good qualities of mundane and super mundane. So that way, this kind of spiritual teacher with all this quality, it's like a wish-fulfilling jewel from whom you can receive all this happiness and so forth. And so, so then once you find that kind of guru, you should devote to that guru. So there are many benefits of devoting to the guru that is mentioned in the lam-rim. So the first one is if you devote to the guru, then Buddhas will be very pleased with you. And the second benefit is that you will not be inflicted by the demons and the non-virtuous friends. And then one of the most important things is that you will meet with the spiritual teacher in all your lives. And then so once you keep on meeting with these spiritual teachers and learning from them, then you will be able to generate the realizations, qualities and realizations of the paths and grounds easily, and all your realizations will increase higher and higher. And then at the end, you will achieve the state of Buddha very quickly.
出现在我们就找对出现什么出现在马啥的，对吧？我的店呢，这样俺这个地是马老出现也不在我的上面，出现在我们就找我出现在马是，我出现在马是，我的可是天天这些来做些店里来玩这个早晚呢，这两个东西就送来了，加上新年店呢，店里这个也不店呢，店里也不免费。 电力也不把电力起来，这讲了呢，然后回头赶快有的是。今天电力就说了，这个他们这个新业碰的呀，他们就忙不成呀，我准备有的。加上电把进来的也不是电，平时也不电不少。
And then it says here, correct devotion to him is the root of the path. So correct devotion, so devoting to him or her very, in a correct way, and making sure that one is not not devoting to him or her in an incorrect way. Devoting to him or her incorrectly is very important. So when you devote to the spiritual teacher in a correct way, that builds the auspiciousness between you and the teacher. So if you do it incorrectly, then everything will be very auspicious, and you'll be able to achieve the realizations, the qualities, and so forth very easily. Once if you devote incorrectly, then it will become inauspicious. So that once you have created this inauspiciousness between you and the teacher, then everything will be inauspicious. So nothing will be successful after that.
来我同的都同做什么东西？我那这个本身的，我那是交了钱，写了钱，来把汤嘞，我那做天的，从我这个讲讲的话，车上生意也不点的，那车上，我们在他我呢，路不干了，我在这里工作可能多的是，路的那个路多。哦，车上用过的，车上也不嘛的呢，俺看用过了，车上这送上来把汤嘞，原来用的来把汤， 대부 통은 있어. 대부 통은 되게 진짜 진짜. 그러니까 신이 약고 되게 대냐다. 그때 봐라. 아니. 그거 좀 그때 마시고 그다 되게 시대 상파도 줘야 되냐 약고 좀. 아니 아마 지기라고 지. 되게 싫어.
Then it says, by clearly seeing this and applying great effort, please let me to rely upon him with all respect. So by clearly seeing this, so so because we want to have the benefits, we want to have profit, we don't want to have loss, right? So if you rely on the spiritual teacher in a correct way, then there will be all these benefits, all the benefits you achieve. And so seeing that benefit, seeing that profit, and then you should apply that practice of good devotion with great effort. And then in the end he says, please bless me to rely upon him with the great respect.
Well, what's it? I didn't give it. I can't do any go. Turn it over to me. Letting you with everything, I'm assuming you have to just see the music on the nimble level of Geshe Lharampa.
And so the next verse, the verse number 2, explains about the difficulty to achieve profitable liberation, the rarity and all the profitable liberation, how scarce it is to achieve profitable liberation. And so it is understanding that the precious freedom of this river is found only once is greatly meaningful and difficult to find again. Please bless me to generate the mind that unceasingly, day and night, take this essence.
I legend you with everything. I didn't much about me. To get there, some was a dinner to this one. In a young, big career song listener. Tina, maybe the Mamma, this one in a young, this one, I did. Any, want to give a layer doesn't have some Mamma. Mamma give, teach the amount of table, you didn't have it. Hasn't had a shooting on song in the design. Maybe to that, you did not attend you, hadn't you song in the It's a legend so chatting. This one, legend or legend on this one.
And so where it says the precious freedom of this river is found only once, and so it's not to be taken literally here. It says only once doesn't mean that you haven't been born as a human being at all. And of course, you have been born as a human being, but most of the time you are born in the lower realms, in the lower realms, and so very rarely when we've been born as human beings, and even among the human beings, being born as human beings with all these qualities, with all these the leisures and endowments is very extremely difficult. So that's why seeing that the difficulties to achieve that, and that's why it's like even though you have found a couple of times, it's like haven't found it all compared to how many times you have been born in the lower realms, and so that's why it's called it's saying found only once.
I don't check. Television songs, television are big. 말아서 아니 그게 최트 어디서 상담 제가 그냥 보면 표정 검사 제한이 제목이 이거 television. 이 내가 tele야 materialism.
And then when it says profit and precious and freedom, precious freedom of this river. Now the freedom is having the freedom to practice Dharma. So if you have freedom to practice Dharma, then that's the freedom. So if you don't have that, then you're not free.
뭐야 어디지? 어때를 대박이에요. 이게 대박이에들이야. 민마임바 이게 민마임의 폼 내가 맞다 개요. 폼. 그래서는 야와이다 전부 하스를 어디 민마임의
So freedom from the form of this rebirth is not only one. So when I talk about freedom, so what are we freedom from? What are we free from? And so there are the 8 states that we're free from. So there are 4 those are of the non-humans, and so we're free from being born as a helping, hungry ghost, animal, and the non-life God.
하여튼에 미인이 미국만 시시하게 그래서는 한국 공부만 삼아 기존에 미국에 있는 다 그게 통해야 만 최제야 한국에 와 있는 그게 요 와다 뭐 어디 있는 다 미국에 제 다른 나시 아니 타고 써야 되려야 타고 써야 되라. 아니 산제 비게 가서 산제 그 동한테서 따만에 틀면 펴서면 어떻게 돼 이나는 양이 싸만에 신경 봐. 나로도 차게. 어쨌든 어디 뒤에 이 내가 미고 제게 돼.
So, and then among the humans, so even if you are born as human beings, but if you are born in that state, then it will be difficult to practice Dharma. You don't have the freedom. So, for example, even if you are born as human, but if you are born with incomplete senses, then it will be difficult to practice Dharma. Right? You will not have the freedom to practice Dharma. Like for example, if you are born as blind, then there's no way you can learn to read and so forth. It will be very difficult to study and practice. And then if you are born as deaf, you will not be able to hear anything, no chance to hear the teachings and so forth. And so it will be, you will not have that freedom to study and practice the Dharma. And then the other one is, the second one is being born in a remote area. In a remote area is like, very far away land where you cannot hear the teachings of the Buddha. And so if you are born in such a place where you don't have access to the Buddha's teachings, then of course you will not have any means to study and practice the Buddha's teaching.
Ini 로다 진사비는 다 에디 가서 거래다 되게 가서 오래다 또 방금 레스နေတာ한다 아니 산계기 송다 되게 유리는데 로다 진 어떻게 잡아내 밑에 막 그랬으나 아니 그게 다 로다 진사가 도시제가 그랬으나 아니 냐마 개바사니 대조르디 토교하리디 토바디 때문에야 되게 생각하고 로다 진이 다 가서 오래 아니 생각을 해야 어떻게 되게 이게 류마고 제가 도자천 이게 님의 개가 간사바디 대조리를 타고 내려가다 마오가 이내 토양을 이거 야가지고 산 거다 딱 간다 그래서 따순 뜻을 내렸어 어다 이제 손이 되고 봐 어다 디스 딱이 두시지요 데 뭐가 진짜 근데 아니 개별 까면 이렇게 봐 사기 마셔봐 제제 디를 버리는 이제 게임이네 가서 상계지는 마셔be 인사 상계 기호만 봐 가면이 인사 뒤에다 니네 행동 또 진짜 많이 같이 이민사 한 단다 되다 대바제 성신이
So, and then the third one is being born, also having a very strong wrong view. So the wrong view is like not believing in the teachings of the Buddha, especially not believing in the teachings of the Buddha, not believing in Karmic law, cause and effect, and so forth. So if one has that wrong view very strong in one's mind, then one will not believe in any of the teachings that Buddha said, right? And so will not practice. So even though one has worked so hard in the past to accumulate all this virtue to be born as a human being, and as a result one is born as a human being, but because of that wrong view, one doesn't believe in the teachings, and not only one waste the perfect rebirth that one has achieved now, but also by creating with that wrong view, one creates a lot of all sorts of negative karma, and will destroy one's future rebirth, good rebirth in the future. And so that way, the person will be nowhere. So I say that we go nowhere with the perfect rebirth. And then the fourth one is being born at a time when there's no Buddha's teaching. The Buddha's teaching has not spread, or when the Buddha's teaching is not existing in this world. So if you are born at that time, because there is no Buddha's teaching, so even if you are born as a human being, you will not be able to practice Dharma, right?
근데 저거들은 저거 주시하고요. 저거 주고 대단한 경마가 신경아. 딱 못해.
And so those are the 8 endowments, 8 leisures, and then there are 10 endowments, 10 richnesses, the 10 conditions that allows or restricts one from practicing Dharma and so forth. So the 10 endowments, there are 5 personal endowments and the 5 circumstantial endowments.
저거 주스나 아니 되게 쇼처가 냠내 지하래 튕긴 상고야 쓰기거든. 랑 뭐에 상고야 나가 신금만 상고 마치 딱 간다 로봇도.
So these are the favorable conditions, like the favorable conditions. There are 10 favorable conditions for practicing Dharma. And so there are 5 that has to come from one side, and then 5 that has to come from outside.
他通过这个咱们的生活，民意预计往后上来当马路那才是说，民意不直接，预计是在他去走往这里呢，去有啥，他去解释这里呢，人家都是解不到的，民预计往过长啥的，确实吧，他往过长了的，我是他往过长了，那你。要么全球讲往过唱啊，最近把这学呀、民族文呀，当这个天天往过唱来空白，天天往过心，往过没当想嘛，我的确，他看到往过唱去，确实个听见，今天来的马路来的，是吧？来的马路，我这来个踏路是长没钱吧，今天没有嘛，那个这个是就算吧，你这个去了特送我说先这个可能是你。他台湾省都如果有吧，这个前队有，对，对。
So those the 5 personal circumstances, personal endowments that has to come from one side are so being born as a human being. So the first one is being born as a human being, and then being born in the central land. So central land, is like a place where the teachings of the Buddha exist, where the teachings of the Buddha is flourishing. So if you're born in that land, so wherever land is, there is a central land. And then having all the senses, so if you're born with all the senses, all the senses in a good condition, and then you have all the senses. Later, through accident or something, if you lose any of the senses, and then it's not considered as not having these endowments. And then the third one, the fourth one is called not having engaged or committed heinous crimes. Not having extreme actions. And extreme action is like a heinous crime, not having committed any of the 5 heinous crimes. And then having faith in the teachings of the Buddha. So having studied and then having studied, having contemplated and meditated on the teachings of the Buddha, and thereby having faith in them.
对，他写着嘛的，三界群嘛，的确跟电半那个就是形成命的自我是嘛有的。加上三界群嘛，三界中间的几天全休息没有吧？不讲的人嘛就休息没有，是我们休息没有吧？而你的确就是对三界中间这个嘛，确松懈没有，确等好，人呢的确就是电半那个。在嘛的，他看他个的是呢，商业中的姑娘在里面的话，男人很比个，我到比个龙头去耐心，他肯定是的确，真的，提前就是啥的，我那时候，但不耐提前就行了，但不耐啥的对的。rebirth tempat ne ba, diba? rebirth tempat ne ba. 그래서 나 최근에 전 미국 통사랑 다 좀 그래야. 미국 통사랑 상계 보면 근데 뭐다 그 상계 준비 그대로 줄 되게 요 봐. rebirth tempat 봐. 진짜 tempat ne 지. 근데 상계 주시면 돼. 뭐다 대부분 이게 제트 봐. 미국 통사랑. 근데 대신 요새는 좀 봐. 아니 대부시고 강로 지금 미국 통비 인자 대신 좀 답변 응원해 주시나 되게 친구 이거 뭐 통비인자 상계 때 봐. 나만에 바꾼 쭉. 근데 요시여 봐. 가사. 근데 요시 내가 가사. 윤수 시공 치면 다 자주 내는 시여 봐. 되게 뭐 되게 미게 통. 어떻게 그게 이미 인사 봐야 해. 그게 대신 좀 같이. 시죠.
So, and then the 5 circumstantial endowments are so the Buddha having come into this world, and so if the Buddha doesn't come, then there will be no teaching of the Buddha. So, and so if the Buddha comes, then the Buddha will teach the Buddha Dharma and so forth. So the Buddha having come, and then that Buddha having taught. So even if he comes, if he doesn't teach, then that will not happen. Right? So he should have taught the teachings, and then his teachings are still available, remaining. And so Rinpoche was saying that about the remaining, is the four results, the four results of the teaching. And so by practicing the teaching of the Buddha, you achieve these four results: the results of the stream winner, once eternal, never eternal, and the arhat. So once you have, by seeing that, so having these results achieved, by the practitioners, and so when you see that, and then says, oh, there is this result that you can achieve. Therefore, I'm going to engage. I'm going to follow this teaching. So there should be. And the fourth one is having the disciples, who follow the teachings of the Buddha. And so here, specifically by seeing the four results.
哎，我说，他平常把的显现应用在我是，你让去年没写过了，现在的，你把我经营，他三个国的电影有，天气去的，确定跟他们给的新的，对，我这有吧，第一张，哎，别的新的资料方面，让他平时不要吧，我这挺好的。
And then the fifth one is having the others, having the people or others, who have compassion and are taught to help others. So like, if you are practicing Dharma and the sponsors, benefactors, and other compassion, other love, who help you to, who help you to practice, who provide you with all these necessities, then it will be easier to practice Dharma. And among these, the most important is to have the Guru who provides you the instructions, the teachings.
哎，我这些，他等到现状也难呢，通过学会的谈到我成个样嘛的，起码的他谈到成个样吧，信息明走啥的，那么学会的马上来印章，这让我找我前头，你送个个那台北的什么个台，假如啥全送的话，我是马上印章，台北的是送的，他这边的台北的是讲，那几个台北的上什么台州的上送的话，现在。 对的，如果最难的现状，你第一个啥？越南的西东我是成都没有地方，台北是找个送药。
And so among these five circumstantial endowments, the first four are not complete in our situation, in our condition at this present time. We don't have those the first fours, but we have the last one. Somebody to help us, and also the Guru to provide us with the instructions and teachings and so forth. So because we don't have all of these 10 endowments, therefore usually when Tsongkhapa says human rebirth or freedom, he doesn't say freedom and richnesses or endowments.
他以前对我是成个样嘛的，三个全他休息嘛，就是我是成个样嘛的，以那样对态度。 三个人在这，当然嘛，这个心里看到，有了吧？去电影看到有了吧？三个嘛，去嘛就是现在往刚用到门面的时候，看到好多有个人上提过去了。哦，三个我这三个的，我兄弟三个不走，那么这个心里有个人上提过去了。他个呢心的确是为了往哪去，让做这个两秒，我就送去。现在怎么来当时？ 那么呢是不对于这么的内容嘛，这一那样2年前去2年前也没大事哎，没事干了没得事呀。这2年前呢，你嘛这没弄了，我被休息交到2个月呢，去退之前没别有个钱，我生意就个当好了，就送到没放下多啊，我就送到第一块去过，这些，提前就是，我都比给开来上去2年前吧了。 这个当年的学员要的，他的人看到要了吧？就是他提过去，我提送印章，推动厂的印章，这个要。
So these the five circumstantial endowments, even though all these are not existing directly, but but there's a similarity to that. So even though Buddha, isn't here now at this time, but there are spiritual masters, right? Then great teachers who are the representative of Buddhas, and then they also instead of Buddha teaching them, teaching the Dharma, they teach. So they teach the teachings that stem continuously from Buddha's time without in an unbroken lineage all the way to the present Guru. And so therefore it is same as having taught the teachings. And then the existence of the Buddha's teaching in terms of the four results of the teaching, the four results of the teaching, even though that doesn't exist, but there are people who have been changed through the teachings, right? Through practicing Dharma, somebody who used to have a very harsh appearance or speech, who used to use a harsh speech, and used to always get angry and so forth, by practicing Dharma, and they change, and they become more calm, and then they use less and harsh speech and so forth. So that's like, even though it's not one of those four results, but it is the result of hearing or practicing Dharma, and so therefore you can say it's similar to that. And then seeing that, and by hearing the teachings, then oneself or others, they all follow the teachings. They follow the teachings. So they are these all four, the first four of the circumstantial knowledge.
왜 어떻게? 우리가 뒤도 차이도 가르쳐나. 산재고 양을에 내대 제일이야. 아니 최도 기부 담보 망고 정말에. 자가나 정 변화가 되게 망고 정말에. 하던 가르쳐나. 어제들이야. 산재 고만이 수주 고만이 수주 무의 참아체. 어떤 그 시험제 중. 어떤 이게 대송 연장 아니 그게 산재 것을 맞추고 있네. 이 가사다 다가 그자 신조 참비야.
And so even if Buddha wasn't residing at that time, at this time, isn't residing at this time, but after Buddha passed away, there has been so many holy beings who became very great scholars, and who even achieved the state of unification, and the state of full enlightenment, and so forth. And so because of their existence, you can say it is the same as the first one, having Buddha having come in this world.
왜 혹시 대래 대상이지 신도 이해가 신도 이해가 사대 어디게 다 된저디 오 이게 다 실질 그거 다 구성이다 신도 이해가 뭐 뒤에 가서 이해를 가르치면 그러면 교복이 고 이게 된저디 이게 실질 그거 다 구성이다 교부선 속고 그래서 제가 대송과 아니 교디하고 싶고 이면서 딱 교도 보라 제가 대관에 이 가봐 딱 교도 이 가봐 됐다 딱 교관에 이 가봐래 교대를 가르쳐나 아니 수준 나바타고 수준 나바타를 시선 되네 지속 도와체 나는 때문에 나는 정말 상처서 되게 쉽고 되게 가봐라 교관에 이 가봐래 뭐관에 이 가봐 뭐관에 가르쳐나 대적으로 있는 통이다 지난 그 미다 통도 들이 있는 미시라 용어예요. 원용판에. 대난에 미난에 미가게 대적으로 있는 게 이거 말이에요. 대적으로 있는 통이다 미망용 때문에 시험시 대적으로 있는 통이 뭐예요? 뭐왜 찾으시나 하자면.
That is, it's greatly meaningful and difficult to find again. So, it is very difficult to obtain this kind of prophetic rebirth, because in order to achieve that or obtain this prophetic rebirth, you have to create perfect causes for that, causes and conditions for that. And because the causes are very difficult to create, therefore it's difficult to achieve this prophetic rebirth. And so the cause for achieving the prophetic rebirth is the pure practice of morality, and so having practiced the morality purely as a basis, and then on top of that, then you have in the practice of generosity, and then conjoined with the stainless prayers. So all this, you have to have all this done in order to achieve prophetic rebirth, because these are very difficult to practice for ordinary beings. Therefore, it is difficult to achieve. the perfect universe. So that is in terms of the cause. In terms of the nature, so when you think about the number of sentient beings there are, when you compare the human beings with other creatures, other beings, it is very, very few. And even among the human beings, those with the 8 pleasures and 10 endowment is very, very few. So in that terms, in terms of the nature or entity, it is very difficult to achieve the perfect universe.
맞아요. 근데 배우는 얘기가 스티지는 해야 돼요. 배우는 얘기가 뭐야? 그래서 나 배우는 얘기가 뭐지? 하나는 안 가봐. 자주 전부 자주나 아니 자주되면 리베지 미용하세. 아니 로자게 파리아를 준비를 자주하려 하는 현재 뭐지? 제가 봤다. 아니 세계의 신부지 봐. 세계의 신체 이구직마다는 이스도 자주하려 하는 신바다 리베르면이야 미용하세야 되는 디 그거다 고추야 시도도 뽑으시라고 봐. 가장 시도도 지난 리베드 개수리나 리베미 어 어느 되게 가사가 되게 가사 리베네는 타는데 딱 땡기 대로 터야지 뭐요. 레디 지난 수요에 가장 뽑으러 봐. 어디는 신말아서 미비도 또 직체 어느 상계 최대 해. 어떻게 이때 지고 있어요.
And so then there's the example that is explained to illustrate how difficult it is to achieve perfect rebirth. So you might have heard this example. There's the example of how like a blind turtle who lives in a great ocean, down in the bottom of the ocean. And once in 100 years, so the turtle is blind, and once in 100 years it comes to the surface of the ocean. And then on the surface of the ocean, there is this golden yolk, which has a very small hole in the middle, and then the yolk is floating on the surface of the ocean, and because it's floating, therefore it's driven here and there all the time by the wave of the ocean. And once in 100 years, this blind turtle comes up to the surface of the ocean, and the chances for it, for it to insert its head into the hole of the yolk is very, very difficult, right? So this is how difficult it is for one to be born as a human being. Once one has fallen into the law of life. It's extremely difficult.
제가 이게 서로를 지금 어떻게 되지 무슨 성격이 되지 리모티나 너는 되게 다스 때가 나한테 두르베 게임 같이 해서 두르무야고 티제데 형이 되나서 아케다 이거 제가 뭐냐 거기 빼야고 싶어요.
And so once Lama Yeshe, when he gave teaching on this, and he drew the turtle, and he said, "This is the turtle, and this is the yolk here, and for you to insert his neck into it and head into the hole in the yolk, it's very difficult." So I thought it was very, very true and very helpful to see that.
왜 어디서? 다 세계의 신부지부디 상계의 대박 상계 최초 정부야. 이 가사 가게 특징을 맞대로지 이제 줘야 누구예요 봐. 세상 다定位的学历呢？你哪是人怎么能记得吧？怎么记？他能跟哪个学生怎么写过他家写的？写过他家，东宋东全部，东宋东全部三的，怎么能几定的？他几定了？几定的？这个你送去自己的东大就东唐不去，他的东唐不去，东唐国的羊。东大这个你这边这东大这个东爬吧，东爬吧去，同意吧？羊的之前这个你送去这边东大这个呀，东全部，对的东全部，这东嘛，咱们去把它这，去把它。
So that the golden yolk resembles the teachings of the Buddha, and so just like the yolk doesn't stay, and when it's on the surface of the ocean, it doesn't stay in one place. It moves around all the time. So just like that, the Buddha's teaching moves around all the time. And and so around the places in the world. And now, normally, we say this is the only word that we think of, right? But in the teachings of the Buddha, we explain about I don't know exactly how many billions of world system, so this that's called the three great thousands, and so this world that we live in, so the thousand of that is the first thousand, and then that thousand world system. And then again that multiplied by another thousand. So that 1,000 times 1,000 is the second thousand. And then that the second thousand, which is the multiplication of 1,000 of the first one. And so you multiply that again with the three, and again with the 1,000. So that I don't know how many billion that is, right? So that's that many world systems. That's explaining the teachings.
What is it? 먼저 당기 제가 타겟 있는 제가 타겟에서 지나서가 제가 타겟 레벨이 많은 대화 차이가 한번 파티 한번 그냥 다 봐도 레벨 대화 차이가 제가 타겟 송어레마도 나게 가져를 지금 다 망고요. 여기 인자 디체가 많아서 지금 제가 타겟 차이가 그래서 칼 지금 와요.
So normally, so we talk about this.
제가 잘 모르겠어요. 네. 그 디체지 막 그냥 아주 레벨을 쓰는 상황. 이거 됐습니다.
제가 사주를 찾아주고.
제가 사주를 So, 100 billion world system. So normally, there are that many world systems out there in the universe. So because of our karma, because of karma that we created, we were born in all these different places. Sometimes in this world system, and then sometimes in another world, and so we go around all the time, in taking birth in different world systems. What 이게 다 이제 개인도 아니 가시 가서 그래. 다 지대가 밑에서 지대 거래 매다체 한 가지 거 요 말씀을 제가 지대 가시 아니 이게 어떤 쉽지로 옮겨 전부 미인의 하장 세르고 내 나가 돼서 내 되니까 쉽지 근데 난 내가 지대 거래 그게 나는 대체 하장 가려서나 지대리야 마다베 지대가 다베 지대서요. 마다베 지대사데 아니 기당 동의가 이게 그래서는 유지 마다 근데 다베지는 망고요 상계지는 망고 다베지는 사들은 동의 자원이래요 아까 동의 내듯이 다봐 상계기 아니 이게 도준으로는 보셔야 지금 망고 지금 나도 다 대화치니까 내내 신발로서 다 되는 망고 지금 되고요 봐 어떻게 신체 다베지는 망고 지금 되요 세상 다베지고 해요 그렇잖아요.
So this kind of world system is normally when we count it as a 1,000 billion world system, but actually there are more than that. And so there are different kind of world system and different, even though you are born as a human being in that world system, but there are many different types of human beings. In some world, you don't, the human beings that don't have any diseases at all, they don't get sick at all, they have very long life and so forth. Some like in our world system, where people experience all these different kinds of sufferings, like the sickness, death, and so forth. Yeah, anyway, so there are this called impure world system and the pure world system. So the pure world system will be like the pure lands, those which came into existence through the power of Buddha's compassion and prayers. Through the Buddhism, like the pure land of Nixon Buddha, the pure land of Buddha, and so forth. So these are the other world system as well. So in those world systems, there are no sufferings at all.
어쨌든 아니 상계기 그게 선제 얼마나 되려면 제가 이든 찍을 수가 없지. 가서 상계 찍상 말로 상계 타려요. 찍선가 상계 쪽에 가서 가려요. 이미 이든 찍안 되게 말아. 어떻게 나시 말안 되다. 자도를 배셔야지. 세상 가서 가서 보셔도 상계 쪽에. 이든 가서 가는 이든 찍고 막. 죄송해요. 이든 되라 상계 전부 다 상계 좀 되신 거가 대체 내가 라니 밀리게 되다 차가지고 딱 죽게 잡고 이 하나 공부.
So there are so many in the world system, and so we are born in different world systems all the time throughout karma, and the teachings of the Buddha also goes on in different places, in different world systems. This of course is not only one Buddha. There are also countless Buddhas, so countless Buddhas teaching in different countless the world system. Anyway, so the endowments. We're talking about endowments. Oneself being born as a human being, meeting with the teachings of the Buddha, being born at the time when Buddha has arrived or has been in that world system and have taught the teachings, and whose teachings still remain and so forth. So it's a similar example as the turtle and meeting with the yoke and being able to insert his head into the yoke and so forth.
신능이 되게 시기네스. 어야 돼. 제단타 신능이 가버리지. 인디 그래서 전다 정보시라레스. 다 전다 정보 만든게 가면 가서 이러면 제가 영어로 와. 그런데 전주 의견도 담아 전다 정보 쉬우도 되고 그랬는데 송구다.
And then it's greatly meaningful and difficult to find again. So even though if it's difficult to find, but if it's not greatly meaningful, then it doesn't matter how difficult it is, right? It's not only it's very difficult to find, but it's also has a great meaning and great significance.
Yeah. 사람들 그런 지구사들 사람들 생대래야 가서래. 배조 하상 친구, 배조 친구. 아니 다만 신 깨라 친구, 내가 친구 여러 깨라 친구. 왕 친구. 일단 되게 여러 왕 친구. 하나 가서 보네. 왔다 근데 되게 되게 가. 그래서 일단 다 전에 말한 전다가 대디 인행 아주 디나 외션에 셔야 돼. 전다 하는 순주 지기를 막도 전부 찌는 말. 아마도 되네 셔야 전다디. 아니 이게 가르쳐나 심을 편제라. 예술 미기로 만달래야 가르쳐나 아니 미리데 하도 미리데 짠하고. 이 충실체. 리딩 데이터나 트렌드 처럼 되게 쉬워를 돼요. 어디서 이 충실. 제 심을 편제. 되네 뒤 맛에 가르쳐나 땡게 돼 봐. 하고 잡은 데 타고 땡게 돼 봐. 동의사도 써봐는 봐야 돼요. 왔다 때문에 내가 되게 되겠어. 영향이 이 전달이 이 chuyên 제가 또 전달이 타고
So when it says greatly meaningful, so having meaning, so or having a purpose, the great purpose. So the great purpose of having achieved this perfect rebirth is not just to become rich with the wealth or become famous or have power and so forth. Of course, there is a purpose for that, but that's not the purpose that's talking about here. And so it's greatly meaningful. So that is when it's talking about the greatly meaningful, it's saying having the good purpose. At the very least, the purpose of having achieved perfect wisdom, the very least, is to prevent being born in the lowlands. And of course, the real purpose is to be able to achieve the everlasting happiness, the happiness of nirvana or state of enlightenment and so forth. So that's the great purpose.
제가 모든 일들이 미네 아니 이게 가져서 저는 그래야 내가 좀더 더도 좀 쓰면 컨디션 일이 내가 하고 싶을 때 없어. 제가 아주 미리디 내가 이제 좀 그래서나 내가 미리 아니 저거 치면 괜찮아. 할미 때 가서 못 되게 차려졌어요. 대법이 알래. 모두 비딘디 얘나 내가 하고 체. 그래서나 좀 비틀어 봐. 아니 그게 꿈을 야보체 맨데 사직 그미는 맨데도 되게 당당해서 홀리기 되죠. 스타한다. 민나도 스트 스트로나. 어디데 홀리기 이게 어떻게 야 당당해서 됐어 그래서. 한다. 맨데 그게 지려야 정말 맨데 여러 봐. 이나면 유일한 스톱스네 가게 잡고 뭐. 어디가 뭐 어디데 홀리기 되죠. 나다음에 차세기네. 차세랑 세워 류고를 세 가서 이거지 류고 장단이 뭐 버리기 위해 우지와는 레슨이 그래서 좀 먹고 봐요. 근데 대fon가 대조를 이제 대치 두고요. 다들 알면 출시제가 다 채발했잖아. 아니 그게 화배 과거들 세동 내만 아니 가자 말에만 대송이다 과거들 타고 있었는 미중계네 아니 되게 가서 동원이 간다 성공당 동원이 간다 대시비 과거 탐제상 타가 된게 되고 위기도 또 당연히 대등이야 아니 되게 가르서나 동원이 따와들 여기가 장민지 전주선이 쓰네 디입선인데 공부를 하나 그리고 내가 가지고 공부를 어디 광리이나 상계 보험사도 위인데 대낮에 또 세상 위인데 니에 갖고 니에 되게 쉬우지도 다 친구지 못하셨어.
So the purpose, of being born as a human being is to at the very least prevent the rebirth in ignorance and so forth. And so once you have this, once you have obtained this perfect rebirth, then it has a great significance. It can accomplish so much with this perfect rebirth. And so it will very easily, you want to very easily able to achieve the highest state of rebirth as a human being or God and so forth. So like when you meet with the Dharma and you understand the Dharma and you practice, so in your practice, then you create a cause to be born, to have a good rebirth in the future. So for example, like even when you're making a mandala offering, and so how many grains, how many atoms of grains you have in that mandala, that many number of time you will be born as a universal monarch. Or even like when you make a prostration, and so how much ground you cover with your body, and an atom of that much ground that's covered by your body, and that's the equal number of that an atom of the ground that you cover with your body, you will be born as a universal monarch and so forth. And then with that, and then that's very small. That's very, very small. And if you make a little bit more effort, and then by understanding how there's so much suffering in this life, and then how much suffering there are in the future life, even if one is born in the upper realms and so forth. By understand that when you develop a sense of renunciation, sense of feeling of disgusting towards the pleasure of samsara, and then develop renunciation, and with that we can achieve. And with that, and then you understand the reality, the emptiness, and with those two together, you can achieve the liberation. And then when that understanding of emptiness and conjoined with the loving kindness and compassion, with that you can even achieve the state of full enlightenment. And so by depending on these perfect and liberty that we have, we can achieve all these great purposes. And then it says, please bless me to generate a mind that unceasingly day and night take its essence. So once you have understood the great significance of this perfect rebirth, and then you request for the blessing to be able to extract the essence from it. So how do we extract the essence from it? Is by understanding the welfare of oneself and welfare of others, and striving to achieve that. To free oneself from the sufferings and free others from the sufferings. So engaging in that practice is called taking its essence or extracting the essence. And then the next verse explains about the death and impermanence.
그것이 대조리들이 단가 전부 지리요. 다 전부인 거. 디레지리디 엔디 유는 거 되게 많았습니다. 제가 틀리면 또 요소요 추추부터 그랬으나 이제 대조리들이 추추부터는 추추부터 투자하고 gen지 남산에 차고 때문에 말과 어디는시 대조리들이 찾고다 쉬운데 있는 되게 어디 되게 많고 그래서는 느껴지야 되게 되어서 이게 치료 참 같은 거.
And says that this life is as impermanent as a water bottle, remember how quickly it decays and that comes. So even though this property in the river has the great value or the significance, but it will not remain forever. It will not be with us forever. It's impermanent, disintegrating moment by moment. It says like as the water bubbles. The water bubbles are very fragile, so if you just touch it, it will burst. So the property in the river, the life that we have is like that. It can come to end any time.
왜 어디지? 세상 사람들 아니 유소 중에도 뭐 하면 뭐 제대다 저리 잡아 봐. 전이 저리 전에 산이가 그게 뭐 제마도 뭐 자도 동나서 다 저리 제대돼. 이게 대야 저리 제대돼. 지도지 생의 재미네. 이게 되게 많아. 제가 어디 제가 제대 제가 대야 매거다 빠지면 이거 되는 가지고 있으나 이것도 대단한 게 되게 대다 친구들이 그렇지. 딱 간다. 나는 대다 친구 키우던 양식 간달래
So without understanding that our life and body are impermanent and they can come to any time, without understanding that, we think in our mind, even though physically we will not live forever, but in our mind we think that we're going to live for 100 years or 1,000 years, and we plan for that. We say, okay, I'm going to do this and that and so forth. So we make all these plans for 100 years and 1,000 years without understanding. But in reality, it's not like that. We can come to end any time. So thinking in your mind very strongly that one may die any time, then while one is still alive, one should extract the essence from this property by practicing the Dharma. Unless you can achieve the realization of immortality. That is very difficult, right?
What is it? 사진이 10일에서 요단 그것이 까나래를 시선 나와는 예바 때문에 사진이 다 이래서 어디 가래서나 레레딩.
Then it continues saying that after that, just like a shadow follows the body, the results of black and white karma follow. So that shows the karmic results, the action and the results.
왜 10일에서 요단 그것이 신이 그거 깨버려야면 약속이 다좀 보면 다 나와요. 다좀 또 되게 지나네. 레게 결량 싸워요. 그러면은 이제 미지가 깨버려 고다. 집에서 깨버려 배치고려 아니 시베주고 랑념도 가리용 그래서는 아니 르 강요가 됐는데 르 강요가 이래고 지나 지나면도 이거요. 어디 낭신체제 념도 용게 가나 레레 용게 념도 용됐어. 지신 당황.
So after that, if we don't have to be born again, then that would be good. And then it doesn't matter even if we die, just like the arhats. So once you achieve the state of arhat, then you will not have to be born again through the power of karma and delusion. But otherwise, you will always have to be reborn again and again. And so it says like just like a shadow follow the body. So in the daytime, when you walk, and in the daytime, in the sunny day, when you walk, you see your shadow. Wherever your body goes, the shadow follows. So just like that, what follows with us after we die is the karma, the imprint of the black and white karma seeds.
That's the way it is. 甚至的变做龙就的修嘛，看过蛮多讲学呢，其实什么的下来了，关键是。
So that's the reality, right? The only thing that follows is the karmic result, karmic influence. So even if you have hundreds of houses in this life, none of these you can take with you when you die.
저는 신이 라게 되게 다 그런 거 같으니 그 신이 망고들 그제에는 직지하여 나가다 기부치려고 봐. 세상 어떻게 돼요? 다른 날씨 말하면 류에 샤를 먹을 것도 류에 다다 사실 다 샤지. 이게 무슨 이렇게 해야 되나?
So even if you have hundreds of relatives, brothers, sisters, siblings, or even hundreds of gurus, you have to leave them all behind and then go by yourself. So none of these can follow with you. So even you leave behind even your body, your own body in contact with you.
我也一些，但是那用嘛来的，刚那来的用不用我也是，加上，你，他几档是有的，그래서 나, 아니 내 손으로 내 사, 다 간다 그 사나, 손으로 내 내, 아니 이거 사이면 이거 내 띠는 거였어. 이름이 뭐
So what you can take with you are the results of enlightenment karma. So if you have created meritorious actions, then you can take that with you. If you have created non-virtuous actions, you take that will come with you.
Okay, that's it. 아니 양 말아도 다 최대 태네. 아니 양 갖고 따려 걸래. 이게 근데 내셔서 태송 계획이 있네. 아니 세부 수부 지셨다. 도로 잡는 시 허버 퍼모 딱 하나. 예수고요. 이거 하병게 장민지 전주 성사로. 전주 성사만 하는데 장바인지 어떻게 됐어? 그게 들리지 않겠네. 이중 그렇게 딱 하나 들리지 대별로 그렇게 있네. 답에 사는 이렇게 있나? 아니요. 네, 가서 딱 이래야 치마 다 쉽지기야 잘하고 아세요. 어디 지난 되게 돼.
So by meeting with the teachings of the Buddha in this life, if you come to understand something about some about emptiness, or even if you have a doubt about emptiness, that kind of shakes some samsara. And so, of course, if you have that understanding of emptiness or loving kindness and compassion, renunciation and so forth, of course, then you have so much thing to take with you into your next life.
네, 어째. 아까 네 그도리야. 까나는 시시다가 내가 뜬 거는 이래서 다시 가방에 뽕을 다. 이 손에야지. 기부충을 그도 쓰는 거예요. 기부충을 그래서 토제디 engwende konan ba nye song tu nya mo chen de konan ke song ye za kana le de ge ti xia bi na nye song de ta bi ba de song ye da de yu song da na de zo chen to de ma ba nye song de ta mo de ko ba ma do ta ta bi de de tu me de ta ya ma ba yu gu ye ba ke ga na ji tu me ji ta tu me ba no to ka le sin ko de ta do ta bi ge ta be de ba to 다들 디스토나지 기부 충을 거두시는 거예요. 이내보다 어떻게
And so here it says finding firm and definite conviction in this person always to be careful to abandon even the slightest of negativism and accomplish all virtuous deeds. And so here this section of the teaching is the teachings that's related with the small scope, the teachings of the small scope, whose main aim is to achieve the highest state of rebirth, to be free from the lower realm and to achieve the highest state of rebirth as human or God. But that's not our goal, right? So our goal should be to achieve everlasting happiness, complete freedom from the total suffering. But anyway, this is the section on the small scope.
Yeah, what's it? 다른 데려야 제가 레게 쓰고요. 레게 쓰고요. 레게 들려야 레게 주로 될다. 우리 또 시스템을 하면 레게 와. 레 패죠. 레 마셔도 되니까 제가 춤을 써서 시. 그러나 누구요? 리킨.
So the karma, there's the four quality of the karma. It is definite. The karma is definite, and then the karma increases. And then the karma not created will not produce any result, and then karma created will not go waste.
레게 봐. 기타 레사도 그런 신도가 말봐. 아니 작품 시야가 이제는 또 레내서 다가나시. 아니 그게 동물이 뭐 다가는 내서 또 되게 이거 가리네고 소리 자야 돼 이거 이내 방도 레내서 되게 가야 맞지. 거기想的是个레게 봤으면 따라따라 레서 걸어서 안
So the karma, is definite. It's definite to produce its result unless you apply some kind of antidote, by meditating, by engaging in the practice of the purification or meditating on emptiness and so forth. by that you can purify that. You can purify those native karma. And then of course, when it's purified, then it's not definite to produce its result, right? But otherwise, if you just give it like that without doing anything to purify that or to overcome that, then it's definite for that karma to produce its result. So, for example, the karma is definite. For example, like if you have a seed of different fruit, like if you have a seed, if you sow the seed, of an apple in one place, and then other place you sow the seed of lemon, and then other place you sow the seed of chili. And so when it grows, it is definite for the lemon seed to produce a lemon, and an apple seed to produce the apple, and the chili seed to produce chili. So one will have a sour taste, one will have sweet taste, one will have a hot taste, so spicy taste. And so they all have, this is definite for these seeds to produce their own results.
아니 Lama Yeshe 가서 앉아있는 뒤만테다 자갈이야 신도하고 되네요 봐. 이게 누구야 앉아있는 게 그게 그냥 다 셔. 제가 안으리다 그 방가 앉아있는 게 이게 개념이다.
So, for example, like there's a story of this person called Nyamba something who had a very, very beautiful voice. And so, whoever passes by when he's chanting or singing, they will be so enchanted by his voice that they will all stop to listen to his voice. So like all the farmers, the people who are pulling the carts, the carriages, or even an animal, they get so enchanted by his voice.
그래서 특히 아니 제부터 상계 중대에 다 이제 미디 양례 양다 되게 양 미디 그래서 뭐 다들 예배 때가지고 상계 예배는 바깥에 통사나 까마치 되는 게 말이죠. 바깥에 있어서 세상 또 너무 힘들어서 개념이 너무 힘들어.
So, and then one day, there's the king, of that, that area was passing by, and he was so enchanted by the voice also, so he wanted to give some present to the person. And then he mentioned this to Buddha, and Buddha said, if you want to give him right away, right now. Otherwise, once you see him, then you will not want to see him again, because he had a very, very ugly feature, very ugly face. And so that anybody who sees him will be so disgusted, will feel so disgusted. He has a very ugly feature, body, a very short body, hump on his shoulder, and very ugly face, and so forth. But he has a very beautiful voice.
세상 네 유디 가르쳐 상계 중대 대로 송 세상 다 대부서 팀 닝에몽에만 아니 닝에몽에만 제가야 아니 대부지 최대상도 시다 디시베도 쓰고 최대 다시 상 일단 내가 지금 지금 현재 뭐야 이 말하는 최대상도 체파 근데 그도 상도 있대 그때 마가지 칸에서 이내 근데 람네 보다 마가지요 이내 개고 또 무슨 최대 상거다고 전부 실제 상 둘다 상 어디 시간 개월째 하나의 근데 개고들 좀 마송스 아니 최대 초시 지구계 있는 것이 시다 이제 딱 샤바다 그 세상 그 뒤에 이제 제가 가져라 미네 애니베디 수구 춘주 칸에 도자라고 이제 봐 그래서 이제 수구 춘주 나오면 그치 주된 나오면 때 막고 나린다 이제 그 뒤에 당한체 지구디 개념 표현에서 대대를 고백되는 제가 망고 한 상계 그 식으로도 한다 개념을 짠양해서 왔다 근데 뒤지고 예
And so then the king asked Buddha, what caused the person to become like that, to have such ugly body and beautiful voice. And then Buddha, told him the story. So a long time ago, many years, a long time ago before, one time this person was in the area where the king of that area wanted to build a big stupa. And then at that time he said, this is impossible. How can you build such a big stupa? There's no way you can build it. And so he discouraged from building the stupa. But the king, who was pretty powerful, managed to build it anyway at the end. And so then when it was built, then he realized that, and how he was mistaken. And then he felt bad. And then he felt very regret, strong regret. And with that, he, in order to purify that negative karma of saying bad things in the beginning, then he offered a bad photographs in the four corners of the stupa. And because of that, saying that you couldn't build, there's no way, there's no point building such a big stupa and so forth. Because of that, then he had this very ugly future. But because of offering this bell, at the stupa, and he in many lifetimes, he had very beautiful voice.
what's the leg ever say? And the leg has a passage. Has was at the leg ever come as a leg chiggy and Shiraz hair. Then I was in a shin career and pushing a chick. She used to be in a Tibet mango chick, low mango take, and the mango chick. You will learn. Chills, Nanga Karesana or leg telecan,
so that's how, the karma is definite. So that's the karma is definite to produce this result. And then the karma increases. So the karma increases not only that it produces result, but it increases if you can purify it. So that's like a small seed, can grow into a big tree with many fruits and so forth. So just like that, the karma that you create, one karma that you create, can increase and keep on increasing all the time.
Yeah. Participation is a 상계 좀 내대 제시도 samaya. 아니 미상 첨부지야. 부지가 부디스 민지 제상에. 저거야 내내스 그래서 제가 콘 부디께 받아간 저가말이야. 아니 랑신 취지 너무 취지 싶고 랑신 총. 랑루 취지에 부디서 터게. 랑루디 랑지 취지디 김바탄에 세지다. 아니 저가탄에 세다. 이게 그 미상 체가나야 다 간다. 이 얘기에서 So
I think it would be good to give you an example of how the karma increases. So there once, again, long time ago, there was this family who had a son. I don't remember the name of the son, but anyway, they had a son, and then there appeared an elephant in their treasure house, and then every time the elephant piece, the urine also is like a gold water, like gold liquid, and then the poops, the caca, and the defecation also is like gold. So because of that, then the family becomes very, very rich in a very short time.
What is it? 이것도 내가 개부 세계에서 생계적으로 개부 좀 쉬어요. 그냥 개부 세계에서 개부 세계 공부하고 그래도 뭐 되는 데들 아니 대체제 답시 세제 간다 태만 유인포가 있는 거다. 그다음에 대내 포상 대리야만 이상한 알게 되고 개부서 대도 개부로 레몬 유인포네 바산달레
and then there were these four great kings during that time, during the time of the ceremony. So one of the kings, Yabuseke, he took away that elephant from that like 7 times, but every time it goes back to that. Not like sending it back, but it somehow finds itself there.
他别送他，哎，他可能是三界比较好玩有个不行，他已经呢，三界中间的结局那个都循环性的都到下去嘛，现在嘛都结果的晒了起来是吧？也会有嘛是吧？那别送他，不的情节，他不寻求的情节，一直都穷，这个三界中间他马上都穷了起。他马可能是结构的些是年个修都是年个那来啊，别送一张，俺人都穷，人都穷差呢，不是他的故事在乎，写了什么修到了，别送张，俺三界的去嘛在是光的，到处跑，就是。
So anyway, after kind of being taken away these elephants so many times, then the family got kind of scared, thinking that the king might come and harm them. So the son, who was very young at that time, wanted to become monk. He wanted to give up all these things and become monk. And he says, otherwise there's a danger of king arresting and punishing him and so forth. And so he went to become monk. And anyway, so when he became monk, because he was so bright, he learned things so easily, so fast, and even did practice very easily and achieved instead of arhatship so quickly.
제가 다좀 더 차네. 다 부지 수주가 다좀 더 봐. 그래서 처음에 다 되게 좀 봐. 아니 이게 다 공부할 다 미망고 이게 가서 달란지 수주 때문에 다가 나한테 내가 시대에서 여기 있습니다에서 때문에 그래서 항상 이해를 쉬는. 다 있는 때 네가 때문에 다가 이게 시대 이게 다 그래서 내한테 내가 소화나. 다 뒤에는 잘 뒤에서. 他们大众不都是像保养的说，两么短，我起来，如果嘛是，他不两短，两真的也行的，没用的。他加上一些，我对他第一课上，那师傅他大概那都住不来吧，去了，我看。
So anyway, so he became arhat in a very young age, and then this elephant was still there, and all these people come around all the time to look at this elephant, and it was causing so much distractions and so forth. And so he asked Buddha to make it go away. So how he can get rid of this. And then Buddha said, now you can tell him that you have achieved arhatship now, and now you don't need it, and say that 7 times, and then it will disappear. And then he did that, and then actually he disappeared. The elephant disappeared after that. And so anyway, so this young boy is one of the 16 arhats that is going on.
제가 갖고 되게 영향을 내 그랬으나 이게 막 이게 막 지금 보고 딱 뒤에입니다. 때문에 때 가다 뒤에 다 뒤에 잠바 산계 위송이 이제 준비 이제 다 정말 있어요. 산계 위송 다 되게 다 말아서 군대 되게 소보다 계속 이제 사이가 더 있는 비슷히 상상할 수 있어요. 그래서 아니 대나에 다 부지기 대바체 그런 탑시체 이제 넘루들이야 그때 민거 차에서 제가 딱 세이프의 인체제 그때 뭐는 그것도 이 세부 총 그때에서 양수제 뒤에 볼래야 아니 개가 가자는 얘기야 또 넘지게 되겠다 용줄 비중하고 탑다는 거 이제 총 이제부터 딱 레패스
So then again, what kind of karma he created to meet with this kind of elephant, to have all this wealth, and so forth. So anyway, a long time ago, during the time of Buddha, Kashyapa, so during the time of Buddha Kashyapa, there was this, the children, they were playing with the statue of the elephant, and that elephant, there is the statue of the elephant that was kind of ridden by Buddha Kashyapa, and then so one of the child, he's because it's the elephant, that was ridden by Buddha Shepherd, therefore, out of faith, devotion, he sort of imagined offering gold, and then he just offered like washed it, like by imagining offering gold to the elephant, and because of that karma, every time in many lifetimes he was born with the elephant like that, and providing him with all this work and so forth.
아니 숨버디 갔나 레 마셔 되는 때 봤어 아니 레 상고 있는다 레 아니 봐 가사이네 난 세면은 아니 디 가사 테고 말스 대와이 테고 말 동에 테고 말에 난 세면은 디 되고 쳐야 레 마셔 되는 때 봤어 그러니까 그 미네 찍고요 말봐 가서 기도 찍고요 난 나도 요한테 나가면 돼요 이제 레 마셔 되는 때 봐. 제가 주면서 봐 시고 Lhasa Tani, any never sign, less and was sign, never sign. Team Djibouti, Tanda for you, Woodman, or Lieutenant, choose us, Poland or the Humanis. So, but the uncle Chidan level to the young people who Shakum Shada, Yoga Shad, this is no less than to change the Casaba. That I'm talking to the Sanjay, the Kandati Turning, and the other power on that. Somos 다 그게 그다 기회가 되잖아. 또 내려서 와야 봐. 그 많이 버서 그 지방 그 내려 시제되나. 그래 먹은 채는 걸어 말해서.
So the third one is that the karma not created will not produce the result, right? So if you have not created the karma, you will not meet with the result. So there can be a positive karma or negative karma. So whatever karma it is, if you have not created that, then you will not meet with the result. You will not have the happiness without having created the positive karma, and you will not have suffering without having created negative karma and so forth. So if you have not created the karma, you will not experience the result of it. And then the fourth one is the karma created will not go waste. So once you have created the karma, that will not be wasted. That will not go in vain. You will definitely meet with the result. It's a matter of sooner or later. Otherwise, you will definitely meet with the result. But of course, in the meantime, before you meet with the result, if you purify that negative karma, if it's let's say it's a negative karma and you purify that, then that can definitely be purified, and you will not have to experience the result. So by reciting mantras or doing practice to purify those negative karma, then you can overcome that negative karma, and you will not have to experience it. Otherwise, if you have not done that, then you will definitely experience the result of that negative karma you have created. It will never go waste in this thing, 100 or 1,000 years ago.
왜 다들 그래서는 아니 어떤 예배서 내 예배 때 가서 사야 되다 신주인이 아빠야다 예배 처음에 그 두개 치료를 했어. 어디 기부 충분하도 제가 내가 방만 잠깐 좀 계속 물어봐. 따로 받아야 될 친구들.
So then it says, please bless me always to be careful, to abandon even the slightest of negativities and accomplish all virtuous deeds.
왜 그치? 아 되는마 기부 된 네, 기부 된 것이고 제가 기부 되는 거래서는 예선 다 타버지고 말해서 오늘도 거가지고 되는 이거 말아. 니네 타 파워를 다 땡겨 대로 던진 이거 여러분. 아 되는마 다 쏘고 돼요.
And then the following verse after this is talking about or explaining about the teachings on the million scope. And so the million scope is not only striving in the pleasure of the higher rebirth, but to achieve a complete freedom from the cycle existing. So this is what actual teaching is starting from.
그래서 그래서 다 나가셔야 되겠네. 이제 샤워에서 이제 집에 있는 집에 비슷한
So I think it's time to stop now. We'll stop here. But still, we'll have a few question answers if you have questions. Any questions? I think you have to speak in the mic.
I have a very foolish question. if the golden yolk is really made out of gold, then will it not sink in the ocean instead of floating?
So I think that, I missed the wooden part. Golden wooden yolk. Golden wooden yolk. So it's wood, not wood, but because it's very good. That's called the good. Maybe the surface. Maybe it's the wood that is plated with the gold. Anyway, this is an example.
Rinpoche, it is said that in order to become a Buddha, we have to be born in a human body. So there are so many worlds, right? So many universes. Is there a Jamadvipa in every universe? So a person has to be born as a human being in order to become a Buddha? Or do they have to come back to this universe to become a Buddha?
Not necessary to be born as a human being of this world. Not necessary. So I'm not sure if you have to be born as a human being in order to achieve enlightenment, in order to become a Buddha. You can become Buddha in other states, in other rebirth, like as a god and so forth. But of course, the human being have a great potential to generate this realization, the path, the renunciation, bodhisattva, and so forth. So that kind of quality you can generate much more stronger and easily as a human being. But slowly, you can develop also other rebirths as a god and so forth.
지난 그래 상계 좀 전에 남들이 말할 수 있는 다가다 좀 그린 될래야 상계 좀 전에 내 자도 공부나 시진도 송과 시진도 송도 장바 이거 가지는 이 시기로 어디로 안나 파다 그래서 그때 시우지 근데 다 요소고요. 이게 근데 찍고 거래요. 죄송합니다. 이게 대대로 상계로 동안에 보면 타고도 되게 또 되게 민항식가 보여서 말고 그게 내가
So like in this world system, like in this world, Buddha Shakyamuni gave teaching on the professional wisdom sutra, right? Or Heart Sutra, on the vulture's beak. During that time, there were so many human beings who came to receive teaching, but there are also other beings like gods, the demigods, the nagas, all this, the other kind of spirits and so forth. They all came to receive teaching. So there are many beings, many beings, not only human beings, but other beings also achieved liberation and so forth at that time. So of course it's not as strong as the human beings, but others can also achieve liberation and enlightenment.
Would you mention?
You have to wait for the it's a new system.
So, Geshe mentioned about devoting correctly to the teacher versus not devoting incorrectly to the teacher. So, what is devoting both correctly and incorrectly? What's the exactly?
이제 수신 때부터 마텐버스 수신도 마텐버스에 최고는 샤워.
수신된 것은 그 신이 때문에 편해지게 삼았다. 아니 신이 됐다 고 하고 지지. 어쨌든 데이터 그래서나 편연을 가나 캐치고 좀 그렇게 삼다는. 아니 인주들 사배 인주 저배 인주 사배 거는 그래서나 아니 상계 다 상계에 망고 해나 나라 상계 좀 되게 먼저 전한 거요. 체나 대표가. 데디 간다 그래서는 아주 시에 투고요. 알아서만 내립니다. 그래서 나 먼저 전치 딱 전치게 돼. 아니 그게 최대한 전치고로 만드시나 좀 전치해요. 제가 최대한에 그 수익에도 라마 되게 신경 들어야 돼요. 그래서 다 상계 맞죠 이게 탐색해봐. 타바 탐색해봐 신기디 지난 상계에 그게 연결돼요. 상계에 차례 정말 쉽게 나도 뒤치는데 다됐으니까 막 렌쟁이 그냥 열심히 돼야 되고 그래서 다 뒤셔다 거진 친구에서 뭐 비즈니스에 상관 직책 300 내가 저배 보내 인주 때문에 안 그래서는 다 저배 인주 망고 줘봐 다 저배 보내 되게 그래서는 아니 부셔지야 나가나시 다 저배 인주 하고 그러면 근데 제가 삼정이 보니까 때 같아
So, when you talk about properly devoting to the, or correctly or properly devoting to the Guru, it means like, and so when you devote to the Guru, there are two ways, devoting to through thought and through action. And the through thought, is to think of Guru as a Buddha. So Buddha gained enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, in order to lead sentient beings to the state of enlightenment. That's why he gained enlightenment, right? And so his purpose to gain enlightenment is to lead sentient beings to the state of enlightenment, and to lead them out of the suffering. That's his purpose. And now it's his responsibility, to do that. But there's no Buddha here, right? There's no Buddha that can come in person, in a real, to you and to show this. So who shows you that? Who takes that responsibility, to show you the right path and to lead you to the state of enlightenment is the Guru. So therefore, you should think of your Guru as a Buddha. So thinking of Guru as a Buddha is devoting to your Guru correctly with thought. So then there's many ways you can devote through action by listening to him, by heeding his advice, and doing exactly as he tells you to do, and by respecting, by serving him, and so forth. Right? That's one of the ways you can devote to him. So devoting through action is like serving, doing, helping him to do things and serving him and so forth. But the main one is to follow his advice, doing exactly he says, exactly as he says.
Rinpoche, thank you very much for these great teachings. I particularly took a lot of meaning out of this last part. Day and night take essence of this life. Talking about karma. We have negative karma. We should try to purify that as quickly as possible. I was wondering if you could provide a little commentary on, if we do virtuous deeds or do something with good merit, what's the best way to amplify that or make the best, take the best essence and the best opportunity of that as well?
So mainly you have to develop a very strong renunciation. So you have to think that you have to have this thought all the time, thinking that no matter where I'm born, there's a lot of suffering. So I must free myself from the suffering, and I must free myself from the suffering right now. And you have to have that feeling of hurry to get out of cycle state all the time. So stronger the thought you have, and then more more practice you will do. The stronger practice you will do to purify the negativities and to accumulate merit. So having strong renunciation is very important.
我的研究的也，他们在地里呢，其他确切是怎么做东西的，我是比较麻烦，我来个清理的对应的。可是难怪学的做的生活结果来的嘛，这上张上班一个这个，我一个上班一个，他前面上班，可是生活团的这些人，我老全部休息的了，对。你们可能什么讲好了呀？途径解决是什么吧？途径解决，咱们多钱，他讲的商业我们不点钱的，工作插画的这个他们就讲不就讲的，工作可能是呢来个钱讲的多，来个钱来个前面可都很低，去你可能那些工地两没上班，就是来个钱到过钱不得多，不得多，现在我的来个钱的经验呢，不可能是上班的，不弄。
So you need very strong, renunciation, to have that thought, to engage in the practice. But when you do the practice, when you practice Dharma, it doesn't mean that you have to sit still or the cross-legged and so forth. You can practice Dharma. The Dharma is practiced with your mind, so you can practice even while you're doing other things. So it is the Dharma, the Buddhist teaching is practiced with your mind. And so these the 80 great Mahasiddhas, or the great practitioners, the 80 great practitioners, they all achieved state of liberation and enlightenment. But most of them are workers. So they're doing their practice while they're working. So because the practice is to do with your mind, even when they're doing other works, they're practicing that all the time. So that's how they achieve state of liberation and enlightenment.
因为就算是那能这个人，但他节目是养生的去了。你脊椎这个，他说明脊椎这个对痛没这个，没这个的了。我当时脊椎讲也写的应该咯，他讲脊椎讲的嘛写，也不是。我去日本那个脊椎讲也写，这不他们形式。看他看没路啥的，他对那个语言写的那个广大去。他现在刚刚只有讲广西，刚刚什么，他不只广西。 可能没工作的嘛，是吧？我想看看，工作的嘛，现在去个内部都不一定太多多，还挺历史吧，对吧？都是解决的历史。
And so one of them, I always feel amazed, and it's kind of funny because this one of the novice monks told him, you should. Anyway, he was telling lie all the time. He says you should not tell lie. Lying is very bad. He said, that's what I've been doing since I was very young, and I'm so used to it, and I can't stop it. And then he said, okay, in that case, you meditate on the lie, on a false. So you meditate on the false, on the lie, and so everything that like you see, everything you see is a false, right? It's a lie. It's not really true. So then when he meditated on that, on the lie, on the false, and then he realized emptiness, and that way he achieved. Because everything we see is a lie, right? It's a false. It's not real. It's not true. It's a lie, right? Yeah. And so he meditated on lies, and then he achieved. Is that funny? So everything that he sees, he thought of them as a false. Yeah. So stop.
Dagri Good night.
Thank you.
So,